technology. It's time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. I'll answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about on the Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Thank you so much for being here. Hello and welcome to my weekly live chat. My name is Corrina Rachel and I'm a certified holistic health coach. I have made hundreds of informational videos right here on this YouTube channel, Psychetruth, on topics ranging from nutrition, weight loss, wellness, stress relief. Some of you may know me from my ASMR channel, where I tend to be a bit more soft-spoken or even whispered. Anyhow, this is a weekly event that I've been doing for a couple of years now, basically just to give you an opportunity to ask your health and wellness related questions. So whether you have a more specific issue that you're dealing with or whatever, diet questions, food questions, pretty much everything is fair game here. So thank you so much for coming. I do want to remind all of you that this is a super chat, and that means that at any moment I could start flying away. Well, unfortunately, flight is not part of my superhero capabilities here, but super chat means you can leave a tip with your question. When you do that, YouTube bumps your question up to the top and gives me a little notification. So the best way to really just guarantee that you get an answer to your question is to leave a tip with your question. And guys, we really, really do appreciate your support and helping us just keep our doors open here at Psychetruth. So thank you all for coming. Thank you in advance for what I hope will be a lot of really wonderful questions. I'm going to do my very best to get to as many of them as I can. Couple little side notes. I want to give a big thank you to my moderators and remind you guys that if you leave question marks at the beginning of your question, it's going to just make it easier for me to see amidst all of these comments. Coming in here, Brian Keith Counterman Jr. is here. So good to see you. Gavin Rossdale. Even rock stars are interested in health and wellness information. Yes, indeed. You know, the real Donald Trump was here last week, so that was exciting. Alrighty. Looking for question marks. Aw, thank you, Jim Mullen, for all those beautiful little music notes. I love that. Debbie Robichaux, go ahead and leave your question in the chat room. I will do my best to get them. Yeah, I'm seeing questions about where do we put our question. Right here in the chat. Natalie Swank, how's it going? Yes, this is perfectly fine for kids. Perhaps a little technical, depending on the question. This is definitely a kid-friendly chat. Louise Lemon. I don't know why I had to give a little accent on your last name there. Louise Lemon says, I deal with fibro, referring to fibromyalgia, which is aggravated by stress. Do you have any recommendations? Yoga is helpful somewhat. So fibromyalgia is an inflammatory condition, or at least is in part an inflammatory condition. So things that increase inflammation in our bodies are going to be generally good things to avoid. So obviously you've already been able to observe that stress is one of those things that tends to worsen fibromyalgia symptoms. But also recognize that there are a lot of different dietary and lifestyle factors that can contribute to inflammation-based issues. Just general rule of thumb, your processed food, and especially your processed flour and processed sugar, are going to definitely be things that you want to avoid. So very pro-inflammatory or causing inflammation. A lot of people find that there are different factors and different even specific foods that can contribute. So I would encourage you to maybe keep a little food journal or food diary and just keep track of the things that you eat in a day and how your symptoms are going. And after a couple of weeks, you should be able to kind of go back through your little journal and start making connections. Like, oh man, 2 days after I have coffee or sugar or beer or whatever it is, I have a flare-up of my symptoms. And then you can kind of be your own detective in that way. And this would be something that applies to really any health issue, no matter what it is. Keeping a little food journal so that you can start to observe what things make your symptoms worse and what things make them better. Okay, so for this specific question, Louise is talking about stress. How do I reduce my stress? The thing that you need to think about is not so much reducing stress. Obviously, avoiding stressful situations as much as we can is a great idea, but there's only, so much of an extent that we can avoid stress altogether. So what you need to do is develop an entire, what I would call a little toolbox or toolkit of coping mechanisms. Things that you do when you start to feel stressed. Things that you do that can immediately help to lower those stress levels. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically about the stress hormones. Stress is something that feels like it lives in our head. But stress is a very physical response. And when our brain registers that we are feeling mental stress, it actually causes physical changes. So it releases these stress hormones into our bloodstream that are there to give us the energy we need to fight or flight. But most of the stress that we're dealing with in the modern age doesn't really require us to fight or flight, right? So we have all of this kind of excess adrenaline and excess cortisol just kind of pulsing through our bloodstream that keeps us kind of stuck in that really stressful state of mind. So remembering that stress is both a physical and mental phenomenon is a really good step in the right direction. Some ideas of coping mechanisms, obviously yoga is a great one, something you've already discovered. Really any kind of, whatever it is, if it's yoga or if it's doing a meditation or a guided meditation, anything that just gets you to slow down and focus inward on your body. So a lot of the stress that we feel is outward. It's about things in our schedule, it's about things in our future or things in our past. And as long as your mind is kind of stuck in this kind of outside world of stressful things, right? Like our bills and our rent, these things are stressful. The more that we kind of perpetuate ourselves in that state. So the idea is to help bring your focus in toward your body. Focusing on your breathing and slowing your breath is a great thing to do. Noticing physical sensations in your body. That's one of the great things about yoga. Because when you're doing these various poses and various stretches, pretty much all of your mental focus is on trying to stay balanced or is on this really intense stretch that you're feeling, or maybe intense strength that you're feeling, trying to hold yourself up in a warrior pose, for instance. So things that get you focusing your attention on your physical body is a really, really great thing to think about. Getting outside, getting outdoors is fantastic. Again, there's both the just kind of mental benefit that we can observe, which is that we tend to feel more relaxed outdoors, but then there's also a physiological component, a chemical component. If you watch my video I put up last week about my Himalayan salt lamp, which I love so much, I kind of explain some of the science and chemistry behind why nature, why being outdoors can have such powerful effects on us, powerful effects in reducing stress. So spending more time outdoors, spending more time in nature, and especially if you can find things like waterfalls or big thick forests, these are going to be very, very calming places for you to spend your time. Anyhow, Louise, the last thing I would mention about stress is for you to check out ASMR videos on YouTube. There are a lot of different creators, literally all over the world, making these videos, and the entire purpose of those videos is to help people relax, to help people sleep in a lot of cases, but just the really calming nature of the videos and of listening to things in your immediate environment. Again, about getting your focus out of the external thing, out of all of these kind of immaterial thoughts and worries, and bringing it in to something physical in your physical environment. So I have this wonderful little staple puller here. You never thought that a staple puller could be something that could help you with stress, but just bringing your focus inside, intently focusing on objects in your physical environment is a really good practice. And that's kind of what ASMR is all about. So you can check out the videos on YouTube. You can also just kind of create your own ASMR experience by just focusing really intently on things on your desk or in your room, all about getting your attention on something in your physical environment rather than really dispersed attention, frantic mind, etc. There's a lot of different ways that people describe that sensation. I'm super excited. This is maybe a first. Within the first 15 minutes of my chat, somebody has already left me a tip. I keep meaning to bring a little bell or a chime, but I don't have one, so we're just gonna give you this. Kobe Lauder, thank you so much. Wow, wow, wow. You are awesome. All right. Kobe, I don't see a question here with your tip. Thank you so much for your generosity. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. If you have a question, please leave it because I owe you an answer now. Thank you so much for your for leaving your tip here. Let's see. Call L. Are body weight squats a good way to stay in shape? Yeah, I would say, you know, it's really hard to pick out one single exercise, but I definitely think that squats are a great part of a regimen for staying in shape. I am still a little like intimidated by doing squats, and I do not squat with weight. I don't think that my squat form is good enough yet to add weights, and honestly, it's hard enough just using my body weight. So as a general, you know, kind of entry point for doing squats, because it's something that the first couple times you do it, it kind of feels awkward, doesn't feel like you're doing it right, is to do a wall sit. So basically you just put your back up flat next to a wall and then step your feet out, you know, depending on how tall you are, but about the length, you know, from your knees to your waist. So basically when you're standing there, you want your ankles to be just about under your knees, and then you just sit against the wall. So it's kind of an assisted squat in that way. Keeping your back really nice and flat up against the wall. It should also be somewhat engaging your core when you're doing it correctly. And when you first sit down into the wall sit, You're like, oh, Corrina, this is nothing. And after a couple seconds, you're going to be like, oh, Corrina, I hate you. So why do I think squats are such a great exercise, and why do I encourage you, implore you, to start doing squats, or at least start doing wall sits? And then once that starts feeling too easy, you can move away from the wall. If you do yoga poses, this is also kind of similar to a chair pose. Not exactly the same, but kind of starting to work some of those same muscles. So squats are fantastic because they work some of the biggest muscle groups in your body. Your legs, your glute muscles, hamstrings, quads. These are really large muscle groups. Okay, they bear a lot of weight, so to speak. And part of the reason that it's so good to work out your legs and glutes is that because those are such large muscles, they make a really big energetic demand on the body. And when you're making a big energetic demand on the body, that equals sign weight loss, fat burning. Getting the body into a fat burning zone or increasing our metabolism is all about making a big energetic demand of our muscles. So when you work a small muscle group like your triceps, or, you know, even your core muscles, your abdominal muscles are pretty small compared to something like your quadriceps or your glute muscles, right? So when we work smaller muscle groups, we're just not demanding as much energy. Now, it's still equally important to work your core and work your arms, but the point that I really want to drive home is that when you work the lower body, you're working these big energy demanding muscles, and that's a great way to increase your weight loss. Because working those big muscles is just going to demand a whole lot more energy and really starts forcing your body to start burning those fat molecules for extra fuel. Just a total side note, but strengthening your legs and glutes is also really, really important for you to help preserve the health of your spine, because largely your legs and glutes are there to help support you in sitting and standing and walking and all of these different things that we do. So by strengthening those muscle groups, you're doing a really big favor to your spine and your core and back muscles, because now they're not going to have to overcompensate for weak glutes or weak quads, etc. So yes, Cal-L, I definitely think that that squats are fantastic. Again, I'm a big fan of body weight squats. If they're too easy, do more of them. But when you start adding weight to a kind of complex movement, like a squat, there's a lot of potential for injury if it's not done correctly. And, you know, if you ask a fitness instructor out there, hey, what's the most common error that you see people doing when they go to the gym, it's probably in their form of their squats. It's a really kind of difficult thing to get really good at and have really, you know, I keep saying great form. I just mean how safely you're doing the movement, how supported you are. So I encourage you to stay with body weight until you really, really know that your squat form is excellent. I would even say working with a fitness instructor who can look at you and tell you, yes, your form is awesome. It's, you know, where we can go ahead and start adding weights. But otherwise, sticking with body weight squats, I think, is just the safest. And it's still very, very effective. Debbie Robichaux, my goal is to lose 80 pounds. My legs are big. What can I do for them to get back to normal legs? So 80 pounds is a great goal. That is a significant amount of weight. So just prepare yourself that there's going to be times when the weight seems to come off easy, and there's going to be times when it feels like you're plateauing, or you stop losing weight and you just hit a point where you're not gaining anymore, but you're not losing anymore. Those are all just natural parts of the weight loss process. I'm just going to kind of name off a couple of things that I think you should keep in mind. First of all, there isn't any way to spot reduce or to just burn fat on your legs and nowhere else. This is one of those things that, you know, I think everyone would love to be able to do. Oh, like I just want to burn fat from here, but I want to not lose any fat on this other part of my body or whatever. Unfortunately, there's not really any way to do that. So if you want to have effective weight loss, you need to be working out your entire body. It's actually going to be disadvantageous for you to only work your legs. You want to go ahead and be doing full body exercises, working your arms, especially working your core and abdominal muscles, because your legs and core are, you know, they work together to keep us supported and to keep our spine safe. So you don't want to just be doing lower body exercises. Be sure that you're also doing upper body exercises. The main thing you need to kind of focus on is getting plenty of cardiovascular exercise. So that's where your heart rate is elevated, your respiration or breathing is hastened. Typically, you'll be breaking a sweat with a good cardiovascular workout. The whole idea is just that you're keeping your heart rate elevated for an extended period of time. Now, for a pretty big weight loss goal, like 80 pounds, you should know that it takes the body about 30 minutes of exercise just to burn through all the sugar and glycogen that the body has kind of on reserve. So between our blood glucose, or just the sugar flowing through our bloodstream, generally from the foods that we most recently ate, or if you're drinking things like sodas, or just eating candy all throughout the day, then you constantly have elevated glucose levels in your blood, elevated blood sugar. So when you start exercising, the first thing your body burns is all the sugar in your bloodstream and the glycogen, or the stored sugar. So, yeah, and they estimate it takes about 30 minutes to do that. Now, depending on how high your blood sugar is or how much sugar you were eating before your workout, that could take longer or shorter duration. Once your body burns through all the sugar, then it starts going to your fat reserves, so to speak, what are known as ketones. So in order to really get into the fat burning zone, you need to be exercising for at least 30 minutes. Now, I want to be really, really clear in explaining that it doesn't mean that a 20-minute workout is worthless, okay? It's still really beneficial for you. But it's just something to keep in mind that at least maybe once a week, working up towards twice and 3 times a week, you're exercising for at least 30 minutes. Ideal scene is exercising for an hour. And just, you know, keep in mind that this doesn't have to be a full hour of super intense, super difficult working out. The idea is just that you want to get your heart rate elevated. You want to get into that kind of cardiovascular zone where your breathing is faster, your heart rate is elevated. One of the very kind of popular approaches that you'll see a lot on our channel is what they call high intensity interval training. And the whole idea is that you are doing intervals of really high intensity workout, or really high intensity movements, and then taking breaks in between them. And the more that you are kind of kicking up the intensity during those high intensity interval sections, the more bang you get for your buck, so to speak. So keeping that in mind as one approach can be very, very effective. You know, and also just recognizing that, you know, doing an hour of exercise that's even more like mild intensity, but it's definitely getting your heart working and getting your body working, that's still going to be really super effective. One thing I like to do is maybe take a 30-minute hike or 30-minute jog and then come home and do 30 minutes of yoga in the air conditioner. So it just helps me like split up that hour, and that I'm not doing like a whole hour outside where it's about 105 degrees right now. Anyhow, Debbie, I hope that that answer was helpful for you. We have a lot of videos on the channel that I hope will help you reach that goal. It's definitely a diet and lifestyle. You know, fitness and food are so important. So we've got lots of videos on our channel to help you in that process, and I wish you the very, very best of luck. Okay. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, bow, bow. We have a new tip from Matt Ben. Thank you so much for your very generous tip. Bow, bow, bow. Bow, 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 bow. All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and click here on your question. All right, Matt Ben says, I've been diagnosed with H. pylori, triple treatment now. What would you recommend to eat during treatment and what to eat after? Okay. So basically, digestive tract issues, like this one, it's really kind of hard to make a specific recommendation for you without knowing a little bit more about what the treatment regimen is that you've been prescribed. Also, things like how long have you had this infection? Is it causing other issues? For instance, are you already having ulcers? Have you had a history of ulcers? There's so much that goes on in our digestive tract. So I'm just going to give you kind of a general digestive health kind of answer. And then I would encourage you to, you know, just do more research out there, see what other people have done. And if you want to reach out to me personally about scheduling like a one-on-one consultation like this, then that's a really good opportunity for you to tell me more specifically what medications you're taking and stuff like that. It's a little bit hard to make a recommendation without knowing, you know, more specifically what's in your treatment regimen. So, digestive tract, very, what's the, not durable, not rugged. Anyways, okay, I'm totally blanking on that word. So for as much as our digestive tract can handle, unfortunately, it's also quite a delicate environment. So one thing that we often don't consider is that the foods that we're eating can have either a negative effect on our digestive tract and the lining thereof, or those foods can have a positive effect on that environment. As a general rule of thumb, people who are eating a diet of processed foods, that enriched white flour, refined sugar, alcohol, etc., etc., these things create a very, I want to say, without, I feel like, so I was going to say a scary environment, and then I realized, well, I don't want to scare them. That's not good. Hold on one second here. This is the only cup I could find in the cabinet. So those processed foods and processed sugars, unfortunately, when we eat them, they are not friendly to the lining of our digestive tract. What can often happen is a situation called leaky gut, where the membrane of the digestive tract or of the stomach actually becomes permeable, and now the things that we eat can enter our bloodstream. So this is one of the big reasons that gluten has gotten so much attention. Not so much that gluten is in itself a particularly evil or harmful molecule, but it belongs in the digestive tract. And it's problematic when it enters the bloodstream. And I'm just kind of going into this to kind of give you an idea of how delicate of an environment our digestive tract is. So, again, without knowing more about your situation, I can't necessarily say if you have reached that point or not, but it's definitely something you want to consider, eating foods that are going to be very healing to the digestive tract. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically about the lining, the membrane of, you've got like miles and miles of digestive tract between your various intestines, and there is so much that can potentially go wrong in those areas. Another thing to consider is, what is your history of taking various digestive type medications? Probably the most common are the antacids or acid reflux type medications. Unfortunately, these tend to have pretty negative effects on the health of the digestive tract. So that would be another thing I would want to find out from you, and just know if you had taken things like that, what is the timeline regarding you taking a medication like that and then having this issue result. By and large, there are so many benefits to just eating a natural diet. So Matt, your question was about, what do we recommend to eat during treatment and after treatment? I would recommend that you just keep your diet as simple as possible. So staying away from those processed foods is probably the main thing. Staying away from the processed sugar and white flour, virtually all of those manufactured foods, okay, so things that were made in a big factory rather than a kitchen, those foods are going to be more of an assault on your digestive tract lining. So opting for things that are in their natural state or minimally processed. Your fruits and vegetables, legumes are all really, really good foods to integrate, partly because they're easier on your digestive system to break down, and also because they're going to give you all of these important nutrients. So that would be the other recommendation I want to make, is that you really think about maximizing your intake of nutrients. And I guess I more specifically mean your micronutrients. So when we eat fruits and vegetables, we're getting all of these wonderful vitamins, minerals, healthy essential fatty acids, which are very, very important. Every single cell in the body is made out of fat, or at least parts of the cells are made out of fat. So having healthy fats in your diet is really just of utmost importance. And just doing things like drinking green juices or green smoothies, where you're putting vegetables in your smoothie or in your juice, eating salads, and just really trying to eat simply as much as you can is going to be the most friendly thing to your digestive tract. Email Corrina now at gmail.com is my email. Email Corrina now at gmail.com, and if you want to message me about potentially setting up a time to do a one-on-one, that would be the best way for me to give you a little bit more specific advice to your situation. There are so many comments here. That is insane. YouTube is doing this crazy thing where I can't scroll slowly enough to see the comments. Hold on a second here. Alrighty. Debbie Robichaux, thank you so much for your tip. That's super kind of you. Daily Ravager. Thank you so much for your tip. That's awesome. I owe both of you guys a little Jimi Hendrix chord here. Wow, 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 the Daily Ravager. All right, it says low testosterone question. How does it affect weight loss, and how do you lose weight? Okay, so I don't even know if you're a guy or a girl. I'm presuming that you have low testosterone, and that's what you're asking. You know, when it comes to hormones and weight loss, it's really, really important to understand how much your body's ability to lose weight. And when I say that, we're talking about your body's ability to burn fat for fuel. How likely is your body to burn fat for fuel? So if you're constantly having elevated blood sugar levels, your body's not gonna ever burn fat because it's always just gonna burn the sugar. It's right there. It's easier. So always eating sugar, always eating candy, always drinking sodas, these types of things are going to slash your ability to lose weight. As long as your blood sugar levels are high, you have insulin in your bloodstream, a very important hormone. The presence of insulin stops fat metabolism. Okay, throwing out a lot of different hormones here. What I wanted to convey is that your body's ability to lose weight is very contingent on your body's ability to balance your hormones. Now, there's a lot of different hormones at play when we're talking about your body's ability to lose weight. Insulin is a big one. Cortisol, the stress hormone, another really big one. Your adrenal glands, okay, that make your adrenaline and things like this. These are also very important hormones when it comes to your ability to lose weight. Testosterone and estrogen, again, same deal. But I would encourage you to focus less on what is my low testosterone doing to my ability to lose weight, and put your focus more on what can I do to help my body balance you know, all of its different hormone levels. Because by and large, too much or too little of any of the hormones is going to be problematic. And I think it's just kind of difficult to focus too much on one. Because what you really need to keep in mind is that your body's ability to balance hormones across the board is what's going to help your body actually be able to lose weight. How does it affect weight loss, and how do you lose weight? So if your body's hormones are out of balance in whatever way, too much or too little of any of them, this can be very problematic, especially when we're trying to burn fat. One thing to remember about weight loss is that it's kind of an anti-survival thing. You know, remember that the whole reason our bodies store fat in the first place is as a survival mechanism. Your body is saying, whoa, we got too much energy now. Let's tuck it away. Let's save it for a day that maybe we don't have as much food coming in. If there's a famine or whatever, and there's no food available, that stored fat all over your body is what's going to save your life. So that's why your body is producing and saving those fat molecules in the first place. And if you want to lose that weight, lose that fat, it's going to be something that you know, is kind of anti-survival, for lack of a better term. And what that means is that if any other part of your health is not in balance or is not working the way that it's supposed to, then that's probably going to affect your body's ability to lose weight. Ultimately, your body is always survival minded. So a lot of times for us, you know, we're looking in the mirror, we're looking at our pant size or whatever, and we're wanting to lose weight or wanting to fit into our blue jeans from high school or whatever. but the body is just wanting to survive. So I would recommend that you try to get to the bottom of the hormone imbalance in the first place. So rather than looking specifically at, oh, my testosterone is too low, that's preventing me from losing weight, what can I do to boost it? You put yourself in the question, or you ask yourself the question, what can I do to help my body balance its hormone levels? What is causing me to have out of balance hormones in the first place? Now, again, without knowing anything about you, Daily Ravager, it's a little hard for me to venture a guess at what that might be. But if you do some digging around on the internet, there are really good chances that you'll be able to find some information that can start leading you to an answer. The best route would be actually working with a doctor of functional medicine and going to them and saying, hey, I've been told by my other doctor that I have low testosterone. Can you help me get to the bottom of this problem? And chances are that once you can help your body balance your hormone levels and help bring all of your different hormones back into balance and into control, or into a place where your body is able to control them, that you should start seeing that it suddenly becomes way easier to lose weight. Becomes way easier to get your body into that fat burning zone, to see results from whatever exercise or dietary things you're doing. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that we do in efforts to lose weight actually can have negative effects on us or can throw our hormones out of balance. So those are all things to consider. Again, working with a doctor who's specifically looking at your blood work, at your body, and making assessments based specific to you is really the ideal scene. I know that's not exactly practical or affordable for everyone. It's one of the things I love about the internet. Almost any question or any problem that someone's having, a little bit of research online is going to help you find other people that have, resolved that same problem or experienced that same symptom. And it tends to be what I do. Somebody comes to me with a question, or I'm working with someone in a health coaching session, and then I end up going and just doing a lot of research to try and, figure out, what consistencies there are between whatever problem this person is having and things that other people have experienced. Because by and large, you are not the only one with that problem. You can find other people that have been able to resolve it, see what worked for them, etc. Where's my giant mug of water? Saw a question about, are you allowed to have a treat once a week? I see a lot of people who, ask about cheat days, is it okay to take a cheat day, stuff like that. Our health, or the state of our bodies, is about what we do most of the time, not what we do some of the time. So the answer would be yes. It's okay to cheat now and then. It's okay to, eat a cookie or an ice cream or whatever it is that you like. You just can't be doing that most of the time. And we, I think just need to be honest with ourselves. And ultimately, for myself, it ends up being about finding the happy medium to where I'm living my life. I don't feel like I am, trying to completely be perfect or have this kind of unrealistic ideal, because there's a lot of temptations out there, and we live in a pretty stressful environment. So from time to time, things are going to happen where you eat something that's not on your diet, or you eat something that isn't healthy, and I just encourage you to remember, you can call it the 80-20 rule if you want. Like, think about what you're doing 80% of the time. Eating well, eating salads, getting physical activity every day. And know that those, efforts you're making 80% of the time are more important than what you do. Maybe I shouldn't say 80-20, maybe I should say 90-10. What you do 10% of the time is not going to completely discount what you're doing 90% of the time. So I think it's just about each of us having to make our own personal decision about what is realistic for us to do, what we can reasonably do and reasonably stay with, and then just being really honest with yourself, holding yourself accountable. So I think that I just received the biggest tip I have ever received. $20 from Free One Up. Thank you so much. Wow, wow, wow. Free One Up. You are awesome. Super cool. And you have a really good question. All right. I got up on the goofy side of the bed today, apparently. So Free One Up, thank you so much. I am always thrilled to see your questions and see your lovely smiling emoticon in the live chat. Free One Up says, what smoothies do you recommend? I usually mix a handful of baby spinach, a banana, blueberries, with a mango and or strawberries. That sounds really good right there. Banana, blueberries, strawberries, spinach. So I did a couple of smoothie videos. That was a couple years ago. You probably saw those. I guess I have a couple of different smoothies that I'll make, or smoothie variations. Largely I'm looking at what's in my fridge and just kind of throwing stuff in. I am definitely one of those people that once I am making a smoothie, I just feel compelled to put as many ingredients in it as possible. But there's some people that prefer a little bit more simple approach, or just, a couple of ingredients. I definitely pretty much am always adding some kind of green to my smoothies, which means that oftentimes they're green, or they're this weird purplish brown, not very appetizing looking, but really super tasty. So spinach or kale, I've never actually put broccoli in my own smoothies that I've made, but when I go to the smoothie bar, they make this one that has peanut butter and banana and mango and pineapple, and it's actually really good. You wouldn't think that broccoli in a smoothie would be good. But if you have enough delicious tasting fruits in there, then, I think you can usually get away with adding some greens or whatever it might be. Things that I like to add to my smoothies that are, so outside of your fruits and vegetables, which I consider all to be kind of fair game. I like adding chia seeds to my smoothies. I will typically soak them in either some water or coconut milk or coconut water. When you soak your chia seeds in a liquid, they kind of turn into this pudding-like consistency, which I feel is a great thing to add to my smoothies. Also, when I use coconut water or coconut milk or something like that, it adds some sweetness in there. So I feel like adding that chia seed pudding kind of takes, I can kind of take a little bit of the fruit out. One of my general rules kind of rules of thumb is that I'm trying to, you know, add as little fruit as possible, just because, or not, I don't want to say that. That doesn't sound right. You just don't want it to have too much sugar. So, you know, enough fruit added in that it's palatable, but being able to put in the chia seed pudding and use a little bit less bananas or something like that, then you're just kind of reducing the amount of sugar that you have in your smoothie. So the chia seed pudding is a big one. If I have cashews or almonds, sometimes I will soak my cashews or almonds and throw those in there. If you do use nuts in a smoothie, it's a good idea, at least that I found, to soak them a bit before and then to blend them up first. Because if you just put the nuts in with all the fruits and everything, it seems like they never really get completely blended. But if you blend all your nuts first and it becomes really creamy, especially like cashew, you know, creamy cashew and coconut milk, it's so good just on its own. But it makes a really great base for a smoothie from what I found. I also will just tend to add in whatever other kind of superfoods that I have laying around. So maybe I have flax seeds or goji berries. Raw cacao is a big one for things that I like to add because I'm obsessed with chocolate. And remember that when you have the raw cacao, so CaCao, it means that it has not been heated, it has not been processed. And when you're eating those raw cacao nibs, or sometimes it comes in a powder, you're getting tons of magnesium and other minerals. You're also getting the fiber. And there's actually a lot of nutrients present in raw cacao. So you just need to remember that if it says cocoa powder, that means it's been processed and you lose probably most, if not all, of those health benefits. But that raw cacao powder or raw cacao nibs, I love it. You know, coconut oil is another good thing to add. What are some other... I will see if I think of some other things that I can add. But while I've been answering this question, we had a couple of other tips come in. Mo asked for... thank you so much for your tip. Oh my gosh, I'm going to give you a little wow. However, Mo, I don't see a question with your tip here. So if you have one, go ahead and leave it for me. I will do my best, hopefully, to find it. However, guys, I will tell you, when you leave your tip, if you go ahead and leave your question with it, then it'll be in the little box, the little notification box at the top that YouTube shows me. So Mo, I owe you an answer. And then Daily Ravager has left another tip here. Thank you so much. And he has expanded a little bit for me on his situation. So let's see here. 33-year-old guy, low testosterone, have fibromyalgia. Very inactive, on a diet of 900 calories a day, no sugar, weighs 364 pounds, but has not lost any weight. Alrighty. So, a couple different things. Would want to know which came first, fibromyalgia or low testosterone. Would want to know what medications you might be taking for fibro. Having kind of a background health issue going on like fibromyalgia, I would say is a strong indication that that's probably the root of the other issues. So either the low testosterone is a direct result of the fibro or direct result of one of the medications that they have you taking for the fibromyalgia. I feel like 900 calories a day is not enough calories. When we're talking about the body's ability to lose weight, remember that storing fat is a survival mechanism. So when you are calorie restricting, and I would say that 900 calories a day is a really severe calorie restriction, especially for a grown man. So what you're telling your body by restricting your calories so much is, even though you're purposefully restricting your calories because you want to lose weight, your body doesn't know that. So the message that it's receiving is that there's not enough food. That's going to increase your stress levels because now your body is kind of operating like, is there a famine going on? Is there going to not be food tomorrow? So by restricting your calories so significantly, you're actually causing your body to hold on to those fat cells even more. Again, because that stored fat is there for survival. So I would encourage you to increase your calorie intake. Obviously, it's important that we don't overeat calories, that we don't significantly overeat more calories than we're burning. However, calorie restricting too much is going to give you the opposite effect, making your body hold on to that stored fat for dear life. So consider increasing your calorie intake and just be really smart about how you do it. So obviously the processed foods, the sugar, all those things, it sounds like you're already avoiding sugar and avoiding a lot of those problematic things, but go ahead and increase that calorie intake and just supplement it with your really healthy, what I would call nutrient dense foods. So basically all of your natural unprocessed foods, fruits, vegetables, your legumes, which are things like beans, chickpeas, kidney beans, black beans, etc. All of those different legumes have a variety of different nutrients they offer. Very nutrient dense foods. Typically they also contain carbohydrates and protein. So that's another reason I'm a big proponent of including legumes in your diet. And replacing any kind of processed wheat products that you're eating with naturally or minimally processed grains like brown rice. As much as you can replace white bread and white rice with something like brown rice is a really, really great thing to do. Partly because brown rice is very nutrient dense, gives you a lot of nutrients. It also contains more fiber, which is a very, very important part of just helping your digestive tract work through all the food that we eat. Things like quinoa, looks like quinoa. It's technically a seed, but that's a great grain replacement. To me, I find that quinoa is very hunger satisfying. But it's not going to give you that elevation of blood sugar that, is what causes weight gain in the first place. Another thing you could look up is ketogenic diets. Now, because you're in a situation of, a pretty, I don't want to say severe, but, you have an underlying condition. The fibromyalgia is something that I would just encourage you to be very, very careful around. So, for instance, doing something like such a strict calorie restriction while you have this underlying condition of fibromyalgia is definitely something that kind of sets off, red flags in my head, so to speak. You want to not restrict your calories too much. Always be supporting your body. Always be, looking at ways you can reduce your stress levels. And simply by increasing your calorie intake, that alone is going to help reduce your cortisol levels. There's a really good chance that something simple like increasing your daily calories up to somewhere like 1,700 to 2,000 calories a day, or even more if you're eating really clean, healthy calories. Maybe to not even count your calories and just think about eating to satisfy your hunger. And as long as you're prioritizing those really healthy, nutrient-dense foods, then, you know, not only does the nutrient density prevent us from overeating, you know, eating too many calories of the foods, but even if you were to overeat those really healthy, nutrient-dense foods, it's, you know, still going to be something that I would consider much, much healthier than calorie restricting so significantly. You know, and then the other thing I would say is about increasing physical activity. Now, I know that, you know, being at a somewhat larger weight, it feels a little overwhelming to think about going to the gym or going exercising or whatever. So just think small. Whatever little things that you can do to start increasing your physical activity will be really beneficial. So even something like just walking around the block or even walking around the house. One thing that I do is when I'm on the phone, I try to just be walking around, and I'll actually like walk around, you know, the perimeter or whatever, the inside of my house, just so that I'm walking and moving rather than being sedentary. There's also a variety of little, you know, like bike things that you can put under your desk, or, you know, even while you're on the couch, be sitting there and doing, there's one called a QB. You know, you're just finding ways to add in movement and just work your way up. Maybe you start with something like 5 minutes a day of just stretching, moving around, lifting arms up overhead, and then slowly work your way up from there. But increasing physical activity, increasing your daily caloric intake, outside, you know, I consider 900 calories the danger zone. Even for like a small teenage girl, I think that's not enough calories. So definitely for a grown man, you need to be eating, you know, eating a just more significant source of calories. So Daily Ravager, I hope that that was helpful to you. I wish you the best of luck. You know, just the last thing I would say here is to really consider improving your health. How do you get your health in an optimal condition? And then weight loss will start to stem and result from that. So rather than your focus being on how do I lose weight, how do I lose weight, put your focus on how do I support my body? How do I increase my health? How do I increase my nutrient intake? And by focusing on, you know, kind of your holistic or your total wellness, there's a really good chance you'll actually see weight loss come as a result of that improved health. So I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your question. Alrighty. Looking for question marks here. Nicole Tang. If you don't work out every day, is that a problem for losing weight? Although you walk the whole day. So this is actually a really good question. It's something that, you know, I think all of us are, you know, we're all struggling with that goal to work out for an hour a day or 30 minutes a day. What do I want to say? First of all, I would encourage that on the days that you don't do a formal workout, you find ways to just make that day a little bit more physically active. So a couple simple examples would be, you know, especially if you walk a lot throughout the day, or you walk to work or whatever. I mean, that is great exercise in and of itself. So something like wearing little ankle weights, would be a good way to just up the intensity of that walking. Or even just throughout the day, doing little 5 to 10 minute bursts of physical activity. So especially if you work at a desk, you're sitting all day, really good idea to either set a little timer or whatever it is you need to do to get yourself to just get up at least once every hour, minimally once every 2 hours, but once an hour. You know, even if it's just 5 minutes, once an hour is a really good practice. And just get up and move your body. We have a couple of different like stretch at your desk type videos that I would recommend. We also have several videos that are like, hey, here's a little 5 or 10 minute, you know, stretching or, you know, quick workout thing. It doesn't have to be a formal workout in order for it to be effective. For people that want to lose weight, want to get healthy, want to build muscle, being consistent is really, really important. And doing something every day is really important. So I just, you know, kind of encourage you to get creative. You know, there will be certain days of the week that you do your 30-minute workout or your hour-long workout, or you go to the gym or whatever, and that's fantastic. On those days that you aren't doing that, which happens in our lives, I totally get that, find other ways to be active. Parking farther from the door at the parking lot, taking the stairs in front instead of the elevator. These are kind of cliches, but they're really, really good recommendations. And every little thing does add up. So, you know, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, or if you did 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes at night, there's a 30-minute workout right there. So it is important to try and be active every day. And one just kind of good, you know, guideline to think with is that 80-20 rule again. You know, it's about what you do most of the time, not some of the time. When it comes to exercise, and especially people that struggle with losing weight, what I see is that 80% of the time they're completely sedentary. And then 20% or 10% of the time they're trying to be active, they're going to the gym, they're working out. But if you're just being sedentary for 80% of your day or 90% of your day, day after day, then it's what you do most of the time that, you know, kind of dictates what our health is going to be or what our body is going to be. So just finding ways to make your sedentary time more active, more engaged. I'm a huge fan of those standing desk risers. And just know that it's not about literally standing up all day long working, because that would get tiring in and of itself. But just if you were to raise your desk up and stand for 5 minutes an hour or 10 minutes every 2 hours, just that standing up and sitting down, standing up for a period of time helps that 80% of your day be a little bit more active. I also have an exercise ball that I sit on. I recently got a Sit Tight, which is this really cool chair that they made with an exercise ball in the bottom. But it's like a big circle in the base that keeps you from actually like tipping all the way over. So you still get the active sitting benefits that you're kind of trying to balance yourself on the ball. But it's a lot safer because you can't like literally topple over the way that you can if you were really sitting on an exercise ball. But anyways, we recently posted something about that on our social media page, Sit Tight. I may go ahead and publish it on, maybe I'll go ahead and publish the little video today on YouTube. Yeah, ankle weights or something, you know, walking around when you're on the phone instead of sitting when you're on the phone. There's so many little ways that we can kind of almost trick ourselves into being more active. finding ways to add some physical activity to the rest of your day so that you're not spending 80 or 90% of your day completely sedentary, just sitting, just laying around, etc. Every little bit counts. It really is true. Alrighty. So many questions. So many questions. It's crazy. Jonathan Whitelaw, what health benefits are there from listening to ASMR triggers? Jessica Meekings, what are your thoughts on a fidget spinner for stress? Michael Akers, what oils do you use while trying to reduce stress? So I just saw this little chunk of questions here, all related to stress. And then there were a couple comments up there, up above this, of people saying, I hate stress. I have a love-hate relationship with stress. So I'm going to go ahead and talk again about a little bit about stress. I think this is something that virtually across the board, we all experience, we all struggle with. Man, oh man, I really wish there was some kind of super simple, across the board, easy resolution for stress. And there kind of is, but there's also kind of not. So let me go ahead and get to some of these questions. Jessica Meekings, what are your thoughts on a fidget spinner for stress? You know, I have seen fidget spinners everywhere. I've never actually fidget spun one, though. I don't have anything around here that looks like a fidget spinner. All I have is my handy dandy staple puller, which is actually really fun. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this thing. So I'm going to kind of combine these fidget spinners for stress. Jonathan Whitelaw, what are the health benefits of listening to ASMR triggers? So I kind of started getting into this at the beginning of the chat. Somebody had a question about reducing stress and how to do that. And I mentioned that, you know, a lot of the stress that exists in our mind is there because our focus is somewhere outside of ourselves. It's in the immaterial universe. It's on the past, or it's on the future, worrying about things that are going to happen. It's worrying about what someone else thinks about us, or it's worrying about, you know, something that we've done or what effect something we've done might have. So the health benefits of listening to ASMR videos, or of using a fidget spinner for stress, or a staple puller for stress, is all just about taking our focus out of the immaterial world of thoughts and worries that we've created for ourselves, and pulling our focus into the physical universe. And the more that it can be on something real that you can touch and feel and observe and smell or taste or whatever, the more it starts to engage your senses and just help your mind. Either you could think of it as just being distracted from those thoughts and worries about the immaterial universe. You know, for me, what I can observe about myself is that when I'm feeling super stressed out, if I can bring my focus back in to, like, either noticing something about my body, like, you know, doing a crazy stretch or something, and suddenly you've just, you know, all you can think about is, you know, the physical sensations you're feeling, or trying to balance on one foot or something like that. And same with fidget spinners, or, even this little thing that I'm having fun playing with. It's helping to just bring my attention out of this, like immaterial world of thoughts and worries and bring it into something that's physical. If you ever, hear someone say, be here now, or live in the moment, I think that's, really kind of is really similar, at least for me, that putting my attention on something in the universe, it helps me to be here now. It helps me to be in the moment. And in that way, it's very relaxing, because suddenly, all of those big worries and thoughts and stresses that feel really overwhelming, it's like we're just turning the volume down on those things. It's actually a really good, kind of visualization to do, like when you're meditating, or, not even meditating, just trying to reduce your stress. You can kind of think about all of those stressors in your mind, or maybe they're in your real environment. Maybe you're at work and everybody's stressing you out, and your boss is looking over your shoulder and all that, right? Whether it's immaterial or whether it is material and it's right there, if you can kind of visualize all of those stressors, all those distractions, and then just think about taking a volume knob and turning them down. So it's almost like, when you're watching a TV show or something, and like Charlie Brown and the teacher makes the, it's almost like that. Like, how do you move your focus and your attention off of these things that are really stressful and feel a little bit more connected to, what's really important, which is yourself, your body, your life, your family. When it comes to the physical results of being stressed out, a lot of times we feel like stress is just something that lives inside of our mind. But you have to remember that when the mind is feeling stressed, it causes physical changes in the body. Hormones that are released into the bloodstream that in and of themselves are going to have a whole kind of domino effect on, the rest of our body. So a good example is cortisol. One of the stress hormones. Cortisol has now been found to be directly correlated with things like belly fat and inability to lose weight. And while it seems kind of bizarre, like, wait, my stress levels are causing me to have belly fat, it just is kind of a reminder that stress is a physiological phenomenon. It's not just something that lives inside of your head. So finding ways to cope with your stress, or finding anything that helps you to feel less stressed out, is really beneficial. So if it's a fidget spinner, or it's a staple puller, or it's an ASMR video, or a guided meditation, that's fantastic. Again, one of the things I love about yoga is that it just forces your attention off of all of those other concerns. Being really focusedly intent on trying to hold your balance or hold a stretch or whatever, it kind of crowds out any space there might be for, worrying about your bills and your rent and all of those things that are notoriously stressful. And I think we should all just remember that every person's, toolkit of coping mechanisms for stress can look really, really different. Everyone has different interests, different things that amuse them or entertain them. If you are kind of an artistic person, then doing your artwork doing your paintings or drawings or making music or, you know, shaping clay, whatever it might be, that in and of itself is a stress reducing practice. Anything that brings you happiness, anything that makes you smile, anything that helps you slow down your breathing. So something like diffusing essential oils is, for me, something that has an immediately calming effect. I have this aromatherapy lavender spray that when I'm really stressed and I like spray the spray in my car or whatever, it just reminds me to take a deeper breath. And then suddenly, just by slowing down a little bit, I feel noticeably different. I feel noticeably less overwhelmed, or less stressed out feeling. So, you know, there's just so many different things. Oh yeah, Michael Akers is asking about what oils to use. You know, every person is going to be different. So there are certain known effects associated with certain oils. But also I would just mention that some people are going to find certain smells, you know, to have this effect on them. Some people are going to have a different effect, even from the same oil. So lavender, chamomile, these are typically very calming scents. Peppermint tends to be something that, you know, people consider to be energizing. However, I find the smell of peppermint very relaxing. So if you are experimenting with an essential oil diffuser, I just encourage you to experiment with different things. Sometimes lemon, oddly enough, I find to be really, really calming. So kind of seems a little counterintuitive to me in a way, but it's, you know, that's the effect that I have. So I think for, you know, reducing stress and managing stress, so much of the solution to doing that is something we have to discover for ourselves. You can look in a book, you can listen to my stress tips or whatever, but as I like to say, the proof is in the pudding. You have to find what works for you. ASMR triggers are a great example. There are so many different sounds, so many different types of videos, and some people will love a sound and other people will hate that same sound. And it's nothing is right or wrong. It's just about finding what you like. Maybe you like when people whisper. Maybe you can't stand when people whisper, so you prefer the no talking videos. Some people like tapping. Some people like scratching. It's a weird sound. But anyways, so, you know, we just kind of have to all be in charge, so to speak, of figuring out, you know, what are our stress reducing mechanisms or coping mechanisms for stress. So many questions. Yellow flower. My grandmother is 85 years old. She suddenly fell down and fractured her leg. How to have strong bones as you age. I'm so sorry to hear about your grandmother. I really hope that she is able to heal from that okay. This is such a good question though. You know, so most of us have heard about the importance of calcium to keep our bones healthy. And when you are in the grocery store and you see the cartons of milk and things like that, they're very, very excited to tell you about the high calcium content. And, you know, by and large, I think a lot of people associate milk with being like the main thing that you should have to keep your bones strong. And unfortunately, that is just, I mean, number one, milk is far from the only source of calcium. And it's actually not even the best source of calcium. But unfortunately, a lot of people have sensitivities to milk, such as lactose intolerance. And even for people who can digest milk okay, milk is one of those pro-inflammatory foods, or something that's kind of known to cause an inflammatory response in the body. I don't even want to get into the problems with conventional, non-organic milk and dairy products. Suffice it to say that if you are going to eat dairy products, I implore you to, you know, seek out the organic dairy products. I'll just leave it at that. All right, so milk is not the only source of calcium. And realistically, I think that reducing dairy products is probably a good recommendation for most people. And there are a lot of people out there who will tell you to completely remove dairy products from your diets for improved health. I think everyone just kind of has to be their own detective, so to speak, in figuring out what foods are best for you. So you can, you know, do a simple search for something like, you know, what are the best sources of calcium? You know, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about, because, you know, milk is considered to be the best calcium food, is that some of the best dietary calcium you can take in is actually from vegetables. Unfortunately, most people do not eat enough vegetables. They recommend 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day, 7 to 10 servings, just minimally, in order to get all of the nutrients that you need. Now, I don't even think that I eat 7 to 10 servings of vegetables every day. There are certain days where I definitely hit that mark. But day to day, I know that there's days where I'm maybe only getting 3 to 4 servings of vegetables. So for each of us, you know, I think checking in with ourselves and being really realistic with ourselves about how can we increase our vegetable intake. It is so important, not only for keeping your bones healthy and having something like adequate calcium, which is just one out of many, many different micronutrients that our body needs in order to function properly. So this is why I would not recommend taking a calcium supplement. Partly because, you know, the body is all about balance. So while supplementing certain specific vitamins or minerals can be very, very helpful for many conditions, as a general rule of thumb, I think the ideal situation is to be getting a balanced spectrum of nutrients from our diet, and eating a diverse, eating a large variety of different vegetables is the best way to do that. So especially your leafy greens and the dark leafy greens like spinach, kale, collard greens. These things are very, very high in calcium, very, very healthy. Even, you know, fish tends to be a really good source of calcium as well. And just know that if you are putting these really good healthy foods into your diet and trying to get a variety of these healthy foods on a regular basis, that you're going to be, it's a really good way to just kind of ensure that you're checking off that checklist of all the different nutrients your body needs. So let's see, we were talking about bone health. So lots of vegetables, variety of healthy foods. Remember that your processed foods and refined sugar and stuff like that are like negative good for your bones. So the more that you're doing things like drinking alcohol, eating processed foods, eating refined sugar, you need to even, up your vegetable intake even more to help the body recover from the negative effects of those bad foods that you're eating. The last thing I want to say about, so Yellow Flower's questions, how do you have strong bones as you age? Dietary components, very, very important, but also your physical activity throughout your life is another really important part of protecting your bones. So largely when we see the prevalence of fractures and broken bones as people age, part of the problem, or part of the reason that those bones become so vulnerable to injury, is that there is not adequate musculature to protect the bones. So what I mean is that not only protecting the bones like a cushion or a pillow, but understanding that having all of the muscles and the fascia that attach to your bones really healthy and strong, that also protects your bones, protects you from potential injury. So just to take an example, a lot of times what we see in old age is a sloping of the spine, where the shoulders start to come forward. Sometimes there's even like a hump on the back. And not only is this very uncomfortable, but this is also very, very unhealthy for your spine. Not only because it's being forced into an unnatural position, but because it's an indicator that the muscles around your spine, there's erector muscles that run either, up either side of your spine. Then you have your core muscles, which is, when you hear the word core, that refers to your abdominals, but it also tends to include the lower back muscles as well. What helps us stand up? What helps us sit up straight? So if we have a just very direct intention to protect our bones, to keep our bodies strong, understand that will also, protect you from injury later in life. So, to give a more specific, answer, how to have strong bones as you age, stay active, stay fit. You don't necessarily have to be going to the gym and doing really strenuous workouts and stuff like that, but you need to be keeping your overall strength up, especially as you get older, because as we age, our muscles will start to break down, what they call atrophy. If you ever hear somebody say, use it or lose it, that's a very, kind of true statement about our bodies as we age. Things that we don't use, muscles that we don't use, start to atrophy and just, we lose them completely. So you want to be doing, a regular regimen, some kind of full body workout for strength. My number one recommendation would probably be yoga, simply because yoga is a fantastic full body engagement, a great way of ensuring that you are strengthening virtually every muscle in the body. A yoga practice is going to pretty much target, all of the different areas of the body in different poses. But it also includes the flexibility and the mobility work that are equally important for protecting us. So another thing that can contribute to injuries and broken bones as we age is just lack of mobility. And what I mean by that, to take that kind of hunchback, situation again, When you start getting the arching of the spine and the hunching of the back, you've completely lost your shoulder mobility. And if you went up to an elderly person and asked them, hey, can you open up your shoulders all the way and get full mobility of your shoulders and your arms? The answer would be no. So this lack of mobility and flexibility in the shoulders is a big reason that that arch back or that hump back becomes so pronounced and so problematic. And again, the integrity of your spine or the strength of your spine and the ability of your muscles to protect your spine and all of those other bones of the body are also affected. So I recommend yoga pretty much across the board. I think that'd be a fantastic thing to do as you age, to just preserve your full body strength, preserve your mobility and flexibility, and help you to prevent injury by keeping the body completely functional. Somebody threw in walking prevents osteoporosis. Psychetruth, which I recognize your screen name from last week. But yeah, any type of movement, keeping your body active, staying out of those sedentary, habits. Getting back to that 80-20 or 90-10 rule. If you are sedentary 80 or 90% of the time, then, however you want to think about it, 80 to 90% of your body's strength and your body's musculature that helps protect you, is being compromised. Alrighty, guys, so I am getting the signal that it's time to wrap up my chat. I'm going to see if there is one more question here. All right, so I want to touch on this. I also want to say what's up to Garuda Legends. Always good to see you in the chat. So Garuda Legend says, too much exercise and exercise powders or pills cause stress and will lead you to an early death. The gym is sadly anti-health in the long run. And everyone's like, what? Are you serious? What are you talking about? That's crazy talk. The gym is good for you. So I just want to touch on this comment. I do somewhat agree with this comment. But as usual, I want to give my own little caveats, I guess you could say. Just remembering, something that for me is, I guess, just part of my holistic philosophy. As a holistic health coach, something I'm always thinking about is balance. And not just whether or not you can balance on one foot, but the concept of balance, what they call homeostasis, when we're talking about the physiology and chemistry of the body. The body is always working to get things in balance. And when we talk about problems with health, if there was one single thing that you could point to as an underlying factor for every single health problem, it's simply an imbalance of something. So an imbalance of hormones, an imbalance of essential fatty acids. So when we talk about omega-3s and omega-6s, it's not that omega-6 fats are bad for you or they're just evil. The reason that omega-3s have gotten so much attention and why we see so much emphasis on supplementing omega-3s is that it is the imbalance of omega-6 and omega-3 acids that contributes to disease. So in that same way, let's take this same idea of balance and talk about exercise or going to the gym, losing weight. So once again, the goal or the thing we want to strive towards is just balance. Because if you are too active, you're working out all the time, you're always going to the gym, Garuda Legends, you are completely right. This can be too stressful on the body. And I see this a lot among people who are, struggling with losing weight, or they have a lot of weight to lose. And so what do? They go really hard into, really difficult workouts, long workouts, going to the gym for long periods of time. I have a lot of clients that'll say, man, I don't know what's going on. I've been getting up at 5 a.m. every day for 2 months to go to the gym for 3 hours. And it just starts to kind of, paint a picture of your physical activity is causing more stress on your body and on your mind than it is resolving. So it's all about striving for balance. And if you're too far on either side of the spectrum, then it can be problematic. So if you're too far on the side of being sedentary, not working out, not moving, you're sitting very often, you come home and then you lay on the couch and you're living sedentarily most of the time, that's problematic. If we take the other side of the spectrum, you're going to the gym all the time, you work out really hard, you are, constantly taking weight loss pills or supplements or protein powders or whatever, then you're putting too much stress on the body. So always striving for balance, the happy medium. You've got to find that place in between the two extremes that is ideal for you. And I think that it's important to just remember to be gentle with ourselves. A great example would be, the question that I was answering earlier from Daily Ravager. So he's over 300 pounds with an existing condition of fibromyalgia. He really wants to lose weight, which I can understand. And that's a very, very, wonderful thing to have an intention to do. But unfortunately, what he's doing is restricting his calories so significantly that he's kind of pulling the rug out from underneath himself, so to speak. So my recommendation was all about finding some kind of happy medium or happy balance. My recommendation was to increase the daily caloric intake. Because if you go too far on either side of the spectrum, eating too little or eating too much, then it's problematic. So we always think about striving for balance. So I think that is, such an important part of our health. And as a holistic health coach, that's something I'm always thinking about. We always want to strive to find that happy medium and not give in too much to extremes. So you see more often than not, people go too extreme in their workouts. People go too extreme in calorie restriction. People go too extreme in one thing or another, and then unfortunately it throws the whole body out of balance. Now, I think by and large, most people are on this too sedentary side, or maybe it was this side that was too sedentary. Anyways, by and large, most people are too sedentary and need to move towards more physical activity. But remember that, if you go too far past the middle and you are putting so much stress on yourself, cutting out on your sleeping time, cutting out on your, stress reducing activities in order to make more time for working out. And unfortunately, you've gone too far on the spectrum. You need to pull it back in towards the middle. The last thing I want to say is that in order to lose weight, and I perhaps said this in another way earlier, but I don't think I said it just as clearly as I want to say it now. In order for the body to lose weight, to burn fat, okay, it needs to be in a low stress state. So I mentioned earlier about how cortisol, one of the stress hormones, has been found to be inextricably linked to belly fat, or at least correlated with belly fat. It is just an example of how high stress levels impede our body's ability to burn fat, cause our bodies to store more fat. Remember that storing fat is a survival mechanism. So if the body is constantly registering high stress levels, high cortisol levels, not enough sleep, not enough food coming in, those are things that cause that stress response. And once your body is stressed out, your body's in fat storing mode. Your body's not in fat burning mode. Probably this is maybe one of the biggest kind of puzzle pieces when it comes to losing weight, is that you've got to manage your stress levels. And by and large, when people are struggling with losing weight, they can't lose it. No matter what they do, they gain more weight or whatever. One of the first things that I start asking about is their stress, their sleep, what they do to manage their stress. On a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed out are you on the average day? That's a good thing to ask yourself, and if you are, more than a 5 of stress, then that is too much. You gotta find fun things to do, relaxing things to do to help you lower your stress levels. And you gotta get plenty of sleep, partly because while we sleep is the only time that our body can heal and repair, that our muscles grow, and that our body metabolizes fat, all while we sleep. So stress, sleep, so important. Last thing I want to say about that comment from Garuda Legends is that most of the weight loss pills and weight loss powders that are out there on the market are not healthy for us. Now, that's a pretty broad statement. I could go a little bit more specific into specific ones. Maybe that would be a good video topic to do. But by and large, most of the weight loss products that are out there are not healthy for you. And I do feel that they contribute to too much stress and then actually prevent you from losing weight. Anyhow, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank all of you for coming. It's always so good to see everyone. I love hearing y'all's questions too. Tends to be that somebody asks something that I'm like, oh, I never quite thought of it like that before. And so I just love hearing from you guys. I really hope that you found this helpful. If you like what we are doing here at Psychetruth, I hope that you will go check us out on Wellness Plus. That is our monthly subscription service. We have over 500 videos up on Wellness Plus right now. It's basically like the YouTube channel we have here, but just a whole lot more videos, better quality, more comprehensive series. Like we have a 30-day ab program, a 30-day yoga challenge. So Wellness Plus, an awesome way to help support our video production efforts. And it's like the Netflix of health videos. So I hope that you go check that out. If you check the very top link of all of our YouTube videos, that is the link to go check us out on Wellness Plus. So I hope y'all will do that. We also have a Patreon page if you would like to see things like behind the scenes and bloopers videos. We produce a lot of that kind of stuff for our patrons. And if you have Amazon Prime, then you can go and watch a bunch of our videos that are up there for free. No ads. Free to watch with Amazon Prime. And if you do check us out there, I would request that you please leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the video. We love hearing from you guys. Thank you all so much for coming. It was time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. I'll answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about on the Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. The Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. I hope you'll come see me next week. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I cannot thank you enough. I look forward to seeing y'all again next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Free One Up, Daily Ravager, so many awesome, very generous tippers today. Thank you for that. I super appreciate it, and I will see you all again next week.